The Joe Rogan Experience.
Here's one that always gets me. Stories of giants.
I want that to be real so bad. I mean, I want all of
That
this
the
to be real.
Smithsonian's been hiding the information. Those are the big conspiracies.
Could be.
Down in their basement, they've got like a 10-foot tall human being. A race of giants that existed, roamed the earth.
Yeah.
David and Goliath's a real story.
It just seems like they wouldn't be gone. They wouldn't be the ones that would have been killed off.
Unless, in the cataclysm, like the Younger Dryas impact theory, there wasn't enough food.
Oh,
and they died off, you know? Because if you're that big, you need to eat a lot.
So you think they were around like way long ago?
Way
and
long
died
ago.
off way long ago.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think like recently. But I think like
Yeah.
it is, there's so many stories and so many cultures have these stories, even in the Bible, of a race of giants.
Yeah.
Like it seems like it couldn't just be big people.
Right.
It seems like what they're
mean-
talking about is something crazy.
I guess it could be if you're
It
just
could be.
because if you're just mythologizing. There's no way that's a word, but if you're just turning something that is real, this is the same with like a dragon. People obviously just get inspired by things that are around them. They start to morph into things. I mean, there was no fire-breathing animal
Right.
flying around.
Probably crocodiles and shit like that.
Yeah,
that
crocodiles,
people
and
saw.
then there are like cobras that spit venom, which obviously
Mm-hmm.
gets in your eyes. Probably going to burn like a son of a bitch. So like, there's like the
Right.
fire myth. I mean.
And people exaggerate.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So like, people will take somebody who is a big son of a bitch, and they go, "Oh, well, let's exaggerate and
For
say
sure.
that the guy he fought was 9 feet tall
Right,
instead
right.
of 6'5".
Exactly.
Which he probably was. Yeah.
Yeah. But also, when you talk about races of these giants, you could also be talking about like people from Iceland.
Yeah.
Right?
Who
Like-
were naturally.
Enormous
Big as
Viking
hell.
dudes
Yeah.
who were always win those fucking strongman competitions. Those guys there's giants up there. Like
Oh, yeah.
400, like the Mountain from Game of Thrones, like that kind of
Yeah.
person. So you think about
Yeah.
that, like that's that size human.
Right.
There could have been a bunch of those around, and maybe that's what they were talking about, giants. Or there could have been like a specific race of humans. Like they keep finding these additional types of humans. Like they found Denisovans fairly recently, and then that other one that we brought up the other day, the big-headed people. That's fairly recently. They've discovered that this is a completely different branch. That there may, I mean, but here's the thing: if they did find those, would they tell us? Like if archaeologists, like who would put the cap on that? If they found like a 10-foot human under like a just gigantic
Right.
dead human with a huge sword underground, like would they just say we're wrong, giants existed, or would they go people can't handle this?
That's a tough because that's the answer to, or that's the question for so many things. It's
They
like,
might say people can't handle it. It's not outside the realm
Yeah.
of possibility.
I would say they'd probably say
Isn't that infuriating?
yeah.
Can you imagine if it was you? Now imagine you're out in West Texas, wherever you are, hanging out with your friends, and somebody notices something in the ground, and you start digging, and you pull out a fucking thigh bone that's this big, and you plop it down. You go, what the fuck is that? And then
Yeah.
you got a buddy who works at the university nearby, and he starts digging. He's like, hey, dude, this is a fucking human foot. And he pulls out a human
Yeah.
foot that's size 38. And you're like, what is going on, man? And so then
Yeah.
you bring in some experts and like, holy shit, dude, this is a giant. And then they do DNA tests. They find out it's a real actual creature.
Yeah. I'm telling everyone.
Yeah.
I mean,
they're going to kill you. They're going to kill you. The scientists will kill you. They're going to run you off
that's
the
true.
road.
Yeah, I get
Look at
it.
this.
The longest, or well, I guess would be the tallest
The people have ever found?
that they've ever found. It was found in China. It's supposedly about 4,400 years old. Would have been about 16, 18 years old. The weird thing here is though that it says there was 3 drill holes found in the skull, and they don't
Whoa.
know why.
Whoa, drill holes. How big was it?
6'4".
Oh.
Oh, fuck me.
Well, back then, that was probably fucking huge.
Well, you said they found it in China?
Yeah.
That's a giant.
And they're calling it, they
Right.
call it
Well, it
giant.
might be Mongolian, you know?
Well,
I
just
just
when
looked
compared
up-
to the Chinese that are found,
Right.
they're probably like, holy shit, this
Goliath
thing's-
is anywhere from modern day, maybe they say up to 6'6", but like taking the word for word from the Bible, it'd have been about 9'9".
Yeah, that's what I always
Right,
thought. That's
right,
what I always
right,
I don't know
right.
how
remember
to
as
see
a
a weight,
kid.
weight size.
Right.
to
Well,
come
if you're back then, nobody had any food, and the average man was probably like 5'4". So if you encounter some dude who's 6'6", some big jack guy. That is a giant.
That's a giant.
And then also,
for
like,
sure.
you got to think human beings, if they exist today and they're 6'6", they had the potential to be that big back then. They just didn't get the food.
Yeah.
But if you are in some very nutrient-rich environment, look at
Yao
that.
Ming and
Both those guys played pro basketball.
Yeah.
That's nuts.
Is it Muggsy Bogues?
Muggsy
on
Bogues,
the list?
yeah.
But there's smaller people that exist that can function and do stuff.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
But what's crazy is that the potential for that guy, the Yao guy, who's, how tall is he?
7'7", I think.
Right,
Yeah,
that exists
yeah.
in the human genome, right? That's not like we engineered them like we did dogs.
Right.
Like that exists.
Yeah, yeah.
So maybe back then, if you had a ton of food and you didn't have to worry about war, like, and people
Yeah.
just kept breeding and growing and getting nutrient rich, because the thing about people in the past was they didn't have any fucking food, man.
Yeah.
Like the average size of a guy who fought in the Civil War was, I think, 125 pounds or something crazy like that.
5'4" and 120, I think, is
Nuts.
the thing. Yeah.
Starving to death.
It's like a
Starving to death,
15
shooting people with
it's
muskets.
Like a 14-year-old girl. I mean, that's
Nuts.
like, yeah.
Right? And all they needed
Yeah.
was food. You know, you give them
Yeah.
protein, and then they grow normal sized, which is
Yeah.
really wild.
Yeah. Because there's tons of people that are well over 7 feet. It's
Yeah.
not like it's, I mean, it is an anomaly compared to.
Speaking of, there's one guy in the Civil War 7'6". He would have
7'6".
stood out
Whoa.
real big, but everybody else was 5'8", average.
He was
5'8".
7'6" in the Civil War. Holy shit!
Is that? Oh, that's not a picture of him, I guess. Yeah.
Right.
But
never
the
mind.
thing
But yeah.
about the stories in the Bible, though, it's like these are like mystical giants, the Nephilim. You know,
Is
look at
one
this
of the
guy.
tallest man.
Ohio.
So he's. There you go.
bro, you do not want to box
Thomas
that guy.
7'6".
7'6".
That's a
well,
big
she
dude.
must be pretty tall.
Yeah.
I mean,
She probably needed to do that big, take care of her.
yeah, probably.
what I'm saying?
Yeah. She can be in this
The big
5'8"
lady.
guys.
Yeah, she can't be fucking with me.
He's like, what are y'all doing? Yeah.
She'll hold me down. I have to fight that lady to the death.
No chance. Yeah.
She needs a big man. She's
Yeah.
a big giant man to fuck her correctly.
Yes.